Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture. Bring on the host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Hello everyone, I'm Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs and the host of Vegas Rock Dog Radio. On today's show, I'm talking about positive reinforcement training and animal news from around the world. So stay right there.
Bring on the host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm your host Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs, and this is Vegas Rock Dog Radio. We are a rock and roll show all about pets, people, and pop culture. In studio with me today is only Miss Thornton, because Mr. Twix is at the parlor. He's getting his hair done and his nails and his ears.
Yeah, his spa day costs more than ours combined.
It does, honestly. His grooming actually costs more than it costs for Jim and I to have our hair cut and coloured. But to be fair, our friend does it for us. So if we were paying full whack prices, it would be a lot of money. But anyway, Jim's in studio. And Miss Galaxy looks down on us to make sure we bring you a great show every single week. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, and Miss Thornton is having her morning breakfast.
She's actually having a breakfast right now.
So if you hear the slopping, that's what's going on my mic. It's not me.
And she loves that food. I was preparing their food raw, and now we're on commercial raw with Answer's pet food. And, you know, we need to do a show, a part of a show about Answer's because it's great food. I don't think you'll find better food. Actually, I don't think you'll find better food if you were to eat it yourself, in all honesty. Right, so if you want to connect with us elsewhere on the internet, then you can find us, of course, on vegasrockdogradio.com, on Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, and Instagram. Our blog is therockandrolldog.com, and if you happen to miss the live show, then you can always catch up on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spoke by SiriusXM, Spotify, and any other podcast app you may have. Oh, by the way, and on Google Play now. Yoo-hoo, finally. And you can also find those links on our website, so you can listen straight on the website as well. Plus, we have our pet tip of the day show, a quick 30-minute blurb with a tip for you, the pet parent. Right, so this is how it goes. Here's the weekly update. Do you know, I don't even think I told you this, Jim, at all.
Told me what?
I'm a member of ROAR. ROAR.
Roar, not raw. I thought you said raw.
That raw and raw. They're different.
Raw.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, so you know our fantastic friends over at the Animal Legal Defense Fund?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I became an official member of RAW. That remains, oh, bless you. That remains, here we go, remote online advocacy representative. I'll be helping to protect animals by letting you know, our audience, and anyone that follows us on social media about important action alerts, developments in animal law, and animal legal defense case updates. And if you would like to be what they call an ALDF ambassador, which is what I am, and share important dates each week, then you can go to their website. I will put a link in the show notes. And how it works is every Monday, which I always got their updates anyway because of, I've had Stephen Wells on the show, and I'd like to follow the cases they've got going on and how we can get involved. But what they do is they send you on a Monday and make it so easy. Formulated tweets and Facebook posts of, like I say, updates, important alerts, and developments in animal law. And all you do, my friends, is copy paste. And it also includes that hashtag ALDF ambassador, so they can see who's doing what and where, and see their reach through this Raw program. And also Raw also gets you swag and, free tickets. They do a huge fundraiser once a year, and it's a very nice, fancy affair. So, those kind of things. And I think it's a very simple, easy way, effective way to actually help animals. So there you go, Jim. Raw. And you know what they sent me?
Roar.
They sent
Roar.
Okay. All right. That's your translation. They sent me a patch. A sew-on patch.
Mm-hmm. For your jean jacket.
You would really like it. When you see, I might sew it onto a hat for you. If it's on the table. Take a look at it, because I think you would really like it. So that's what I got up to. Well, it's one of the things I got up to this week. The other thing I got up to this week was, as you know, last week we did the update on our shelter, the Nevada SPCA, who, where do we even start with that? For 10 years, I've been very vocal about how awful it is over there on all kinds of different levels. Well, finally our dream came true, and Maddie's Fund stepped in as the trustees to turn that shelter around. This is what they do. This is what they specialize in. And I'd spent 3 hours with them last week asking tons and tons of questions, and I brought that to you in last week's show. So if you didn't catch it, just go back to last week. Now, as part of that, they also do so much education in the community geared towards your rescues, so that rescues can operate in a very modern way with new data, new research, fresh ways of doing adoptions and fosters and those kind of things. And they cover all kinds of topics. So I went to their conference. It was a full-day conference. It was actually nice because I got to hang out with some of my rescue friends who were also busy. We tend to not see each other there, except when we actually do big events and we all show up to our own big events. But this is some of the things that they were covering. It was how to turbo boost your adoptions, how to have a very robust foster program, and how to get fosters. And then also compassionate care disorder, which so many people in caring professions, especially this kind of, area where it's not all happy. You see the worst of humanity, you see the best of humanity. It can be quite up and down, very stressful, and it can take a toll on you. So they've realized this is such an important area that people just don't focus on. They don't look after themselves. And I think now there's a big movement for self-care, which I think is brilliant, and it falls right into that. And here's the thing. I've always said this when people, it's like saying I'm, too busy to stop and get petrol or gas for my car, but eventually your car's going to just stop. And that will be you if you actually don't look after yourself. And that's a really simple analogy, because unless you can look after yourself, you can't help more animals. And you're probably not a great person to be around. If you are not taking time for yourself, you're probably highly stressed, probably not the best person to be around. But if you're a foster, you also want to be relaxed as well. So I was really happy to participate in so many of these things. And it was a great day. And I've been invited back for the... Where is it? I'm very excited about this, by the way.
She only ate half her breakfast, by the way.
Oh, she did?
No, she's not bothered, and she's on her chair now.
I know, because it's a bit of an odd, which she didn't normally eat in the studio. I think that's what it is. I've been invited to the... it's a day-long canine behavior seminar, and it's with their behavioralist. And she has a degree in the field, which is very nice to see. And basically, they're going to cover reading body language, safe, humane dog handling, and this is geared towards rescues, and shelters, stress recognition and reduction for dogs, enrichment for dogs in the shelter, understanding aggressive behavior in the domestic dog. And like I say, it's really geared towards volunteers and key partners for the Nevada SPCA. So I'm very happy that Maddie's Fund are in place. And I think, as vocal as I've been for 10 years, and also trying to help as much as I can, and having the door shut on me, and I'm not alone in that. I think it's important to get on board now and actually really support their efforts, because this is what we asked for. So very excited about that. What else did you get up to this week, Jim?
Well, I played a couple shows this week. I played at the charity, my twice monthly charity show.
Yeah.
And I played with that great rock band, Gray Street, that I play with once a month.
Yeah, I had all intentions of going, but, I've always got a lot to do.
So that was good. And, last week I was out of town, so we did that quick trip to San Diego.
I completely forgot about that.
Played for the USO fundraiser in San Diego, which is a huge organization down in San Diego.
How much did they raise?
$500,000.
What?
There was some serious money in that little
That's gold.
ballroom.
That's goals for you.
Yeah.
But it was a nice affair.
Very nice. It's good to be in San Diego. Had some seafood.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And you know what? We're going to have a little fun today as well. We're going to go to Odie's birthday. Odie is our little friend who has no eyes. Odie's eyes, if you're looking for him on Instagram. Got a huge amount of followers, and it's his birthday today.
We're doing that in the daytime, and then in the nighttime, we're going to my friend's birthday party.
I know. And then we're going to drop off supplies.
Who's doing that?
You and I to Mighty's rescue. She's just down on Stephanie. She's got an adoption event, so that's worked out perfectly well. And so, yeah, we've got a full nice day today, even though we are busy. And then we're going to kind of relax for 2 days, aren't we, Jim? Just hang out with the dogs. Unseasonably cool for Vegas. It's not cool, trust me. You can get a 10. But for us, it's fantastic. We can be outside. And every day it's cooler like this because we're only going to be 80-something today. Then, it's just another day we're not living on the surface of the sun. So, yeah, I've got a great weekend planned and lots of good stuff happening next week. Also, by the way, well, no, I'm going to get to it in a second. Because I don't know anyone listening, if they have not heard of what happened, that video that was circulating from Vegas with one of the trainers here in town, then you may have been living under a rock. But I'm going to address that shortly. But first of all, I want to cover this topic. Quite interesting. A Bangor woman appealed a lower court decision granting custody of Honey to her former partner. Her attorney told justices Tuesday that courts have the authority to consider all factors in a pet custody case. So this is in Augusta, Maine, and Maine's highest court heard oral arguments Tuesday in a potentially groundbreaking custody case involving an unmarried couple and a Labrador Retriever boxer mix, that's a good one, named Honey. Now, Jessica Sardina, she's 25, and she's appealing a lower court decision that granted sole custody of Honey to her ex-boyfriend, Kelvin Liriano. And the district court judge ruled that Honey was Liriano's property because his name was on the adoption papers. Now, and that word property just kills me, but that's how our animals are seen in the eyes of the law. And America, I'm just, really. My mouth won't work today. Let's get these lips going. Right. So, Animal Legal Defense Fund, they're also working on legislation to have that changed from not being property to actually being a sentient being. Anyway, let's get my act together. So they gave him sole custody because his name was on the adoption papers. However, Jessica, she argued before the Maine Supreme Judicial Court at the Capitol Judicial Center on Tuesday that a pet should not be considered the same as property and that the courts have the authority to consider all factors when determining a pet custody case. Outside the courtroom in an interview after those arguments, Sardina explained that she was Honey's sole caregiver and Honey moved in with her even before the boyfriend did because he couldn't have a dog at his apartment.
What?
You see how that changes the situation? So she said that she fed Honey. She took her to the vet. She registered. She cared for her when she had special dietary needs while suffering from lupus. And she raised Honey with her two other dogs, Murphy and Beasley, who both miss Honey as well. So, yeah, those are considerations. She said that Honey is family to her and she's not property. And so Honey has such a strong bond with her and the other dogs, and they grew up together. And she says, I treat them all like they're my own kids. And that's why it's important to me. I've always been her sole provider and caregiver, and she's just not property. So during this hearing, Chief Justice Lee Softly noted that earlier in the day the court had heard arguments in a case involving the death of an infant and a sexual assault case. She said, people who love dogs understand why heartstrings brought you here, but questioned whether deciding how adults should share their animals is something that the state's judges should be spending their time on. What happens with the dog when unmarried parties go to their separate ways? Is that really something we want judges in the state to spend their time on? She said the courts cannot elevate dogs to the level of children in custody disputes, but asked if the state should do something different with pets other than treat them as property under the law. And there's nothing about this particular appeal I feel is frivolous. I'm trying to evolve part of the law, said Jean Sullivan, and that's Sardina's attorney. So I guess the questioning lasted about 40 minutes. And, she's seeking custody of Honey. I don't believe companion animals should be treated the same as property. Pets are considered property in all 50 states, and only 3 states, Alaska, Illinois, and California, have specific laws that address pet custody when a marriage dissolves. And none has a statute dealing with pets when an unmarried couple breaks up. Most of us who've had animals consider them to be family, and the legal system has been slow to catch up. So in an email, Sullivan said she urged the justices to issue an appropriate order considering not just antiquated property notions, but a totality of the circumstances, including everything my client did for Honey, the dog, during their time together, while Mr. Liriano, which we believe was substantial. And I find it interesting the fact that the dog moved in with her first. He couldn't have a dog, and he hadn't even moved in with her. So,
but technically the dog was his because he adopted it.
Because the name's on it.
Paper.
And here's the interesting thing. Had there been a home inspection, he would have been lying if they went to her house. Do you know what I mean?
You mean like when he adopted it?
For a home inspection, you're supposed to go to the home. He didn't have a home to show because he couldn't have the dog there. So obviously this was probably a dog just adopted straight out of a shelter without a home inspection. So where are we on this little story? So anyway, he had decided to adopt the dog from the shelter. He adopted Honey, signed the adoption paperwork. He paid the adoption fees, Hunter said. A month later, Mr. Liriano and Miss Sardina moved in together. So she had Honey for a month prior to that. During that time, they both cared for the dog. Ultimately, Miss Sardina's kicked him out but refused to give up the dog. I love her for that.
She technically broke the law.
What do you mean?
It was his dog. Even though he couldn't have one, he signed the papers.
Well, the dog was living there, and then she had to kick him out. I'd be curious to know why they broke up. I'm erring on her side. There could be a lot more to this than we even know. Anyway, of course, the court judge obviously said it belongs to him. Anyway, so let me go through a little bit because there's a bit of repetition going on here. So the Maine's property law standards limited what he could order regarding custody of Honey, and the law gives judges more discretion than that used by the district court judge. And they asked, what remedy he and Sardina sought, and said that courts should rule that judges can do more than simply follow property law when it comes to deciding custody of pets. And he believes Maine law gives judges discretion and suggested a standard considering what is best for all concerned when it comes to companion animal custody when a couple splits up. They're saying that these pet custody cases are certainly on the rise and have been since 2001. And there was a survey done in 2014 by the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers. Dogs fetched the top spot as the most disputed family animal, with cats a distant second. And about 20% of the attorneys who responded to the survey said courts are more frequently. I can't speak today. I don't know what's going on. I feel like my brain is just not engaged. Right. Or more frequently allowing pet custody cases to be heard. And while pet custody cases are not an everyday occurrence, far too many spouses attempt to initiate these disputes as a negotiating strategy, often believing that they can use the animal as a kind of bargaining chip. Ooh, shouldn't do that. The dog does need to go in the right place, though, I have to say. So Maine's highest court didn't decide the matter, but it is expected to issue a written opinion, and Sullivan believes the court will reach a decision within a month or two. We will follow up on this one. This is interesting. This is like a da-da-da, isn't it, Jim?
Da-da-da.
Do you have your phone on you?
No.
What is that?
What are you talking about?
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the mixing board to try to make sure I get the right eequalization on your voice.
You look really
I'm
strange.
doing my engineering duties. Excuse me.
You look really strange.
My goodness.
Wow. I would hate to be in that position. That has got to be so heartbreaking when you have been with that dog from the day it was adopted. I mean, no doubt she has a big connection with it. And a lot can happen in a month, you see. You know, a month takes a lot of, work.
She should have been available to go and adopt the dog and put her name on the papers, though. She had some diligence she didn't do. Why wasn't she there to adopt the dog with him?
Well, I don't think you go back and you put 2 doctors on there, and I can double check with Regina. I
well,
don't think
if the dog was going to be at her house, it should have been in her name then, but she wasn't there. Why did he adopt the dog? How was he allowed to have an adoption if he couldn't have a dog where he lived?
Well, obviously they gave her address, or maybe it was the fact that I'll be moving in with her, and they gave her address, because obviously they were getting on well because they were moving in at the time, But you see how that gets all complicated. But tough situation to be in. I would not like to be in that. Because, well, here's the thing. All the dogs are mine anyway. And your saxophones and your flute and your clarinet. And anything else I can have. I couldn't do that to somebody else, though. Because if you really did focus on the dog's needs, then that dog needs all the people that were in its life to remain in its life in some way, Don't you think?
I don't know, because everything's yours.
Oh, please! That made no sense to my
That's
question.
what you said.
That made
did.
That made no sense,
Yeah,
Jim.
it did.
Let's move on to the next topic. Here we go. Our friend Rodney Habib. And if you do not follow him, follow Planet Paws. You'll learn so much. Anyway, posted this little nugget of info. Johns Hopkins lab study suggests plant compounds may be better than current antibiotics at killing Lyme bacteria that causes lingering symptoms in some cases. Essential oils from garlic cloves, myrrh trees, thyme leaves, cinnamon bark, allspice berries, and cumin seeds showed strong killing activity against dormant and slow-growing persistent forms of Lyme disease bacterium. A quick note on essential oils, I will tell you, because I don't want anyone running out and going to get essential oils for a dog that's, been impacted with Lyme, or a person. Not all essential oils are created equal. Not all are safe. Not all oils are safe for people or animals. In fact, my only recommendation would be Animal EO. It's formulated and tested by veterinarian Dr. Melissa Shelton. She creates her own custom blends for specific ailments and conditions and situations. And they're formulated for animals, these specific ones. Of course, if they're safe for your animals, they're going to be safe for you as well. They're screened, and there's a ton of education and support that goes along when you actually purchase something from her. So they're now saying, this, and I'm going to put these links in because there are 2 pieces of this research that I found linked to what Rodney Habib posted. Now, wouldn't that be amazing that an essential oil would help with that, as opposed to drugs or other treatments? I think essential oils are underestimated
An underknown.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, there's a couple of essential oil companies out there that most people know the names. I'm not going to mention them because they're not, specifically for animals, they are not formulated, and they haven't done any testing for animals. I mean, anything from the carrier oil to synthetic essential oils aren't really essential oils. Got to be very careful with that kind of stuff. But if you do want to check out Animal EO, the links will be in the show notes. I thought that would be interesting. That's something to keep following up on as well. I'm all about things that are just not quite conservative as far as like treatments go, when that will work and you don't have to go to an extreme. So here comes that horrible, horrible, horrible thing that happened this week in Vegas. I feel like we've been horrible with animals in the last few months. We've just had so many horrific things happen to animals. We've got tons of people right now dumping dogs in the desert. So the trapping girls are out there, trapping dogs left, right, and center. Then we've got 2 dogs that were stabbed with an ice pick in the back garden. We've got a dog that was shot. We've got, what else did happen, Jim, in town? Poisonings.
Yeah, they still haven't caught
I
on to
know.
who's doing that, throwing poisonous food into people's yards.
Really scary.
Don't let me catch them.
Seriously, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. Every time you let your dogs out into your back garden, it's going to be a bit tedious. Go and do a quick scan to make sure nothing's been thrown over the wall, because there are some evil people out there. So here's another horrible thing that's happened this week. It blew up. It went viral. I had friends in England, Australia, Canada, Spain tagging me in this video, which of course I've seen because it happened in Vegas. But this company, Off Leash K9 Training, now are in an animal abuse investigation, and it's one of those board and train places that you should never ever leave your animal in the hands of anyone without you being there, ever. Don't drop your dog off for 2 weeks and then go on holiday.
Yeah, don't be lazy.
Don't be lazy. I would never do that in a million years. You should see how I am. And we've got the most amazing pet sitter. And I'm just like, and do this, and don't forget that. And blah, blah, blah. That's my pet sitter, and she's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. In fact, she works with a rescue, and she fosters, so she's brilliant with animals. But anyway, so this is what happened. This video circulated. I saw it very late one night, and and I'm using air quotes here, trainer. Shock collar trainer. Shock collar on the dog, big Doberman, beautiful, beautiful dog. And he's got a baseball bat, and he's swearing and intimidating this dog, and of course, zapping it. Which the weird thing is, when people saw that video, all they saw was the baseball bat. Yes, of course you would, because you go, what the heck is going on here? And they failed to see the shock collar. They failed to see that in the video. Anyway, I reached out to the cruelty unit that night. And the very next morning, they had animal control and Metro over there. It was disturbing and sickening. And to hear that dog cry and pancake on the floor was just, and for as long as that dog's been there, it's been terrorized, because we don't treat animals like that. And I've been working on this show that I want to do on how to find a proper trainer that's not going to lift a baseball bat to your dog and shock it and terrorize it. And I've been working on it a long, long time, because I'm just piecing all of it together. And I say it blew up, and rightfully so. And I will say this to the news, because often, the news will censor things. They played that video in its entirety. And I'm really glad about that, because people needed to see how bad animals are treated in a lot of these facilities. And it's not acceptable. It is not acceptable. Well, the guy who was in the video, and who even knows who was videoing it? I mean, who even knows, Jim? I mean, that's terrible. That, along with someone who had previously left 3 German Shepherds there, who came back with lacerations. They were terrified. She said her dogs were not the same dogs. They were frightened. They were cowering behind her. They were a wreck. These dogs were a wreck, and they were injured. And they were skin and bones. And she'd left food. And I think she'd left them for 2 weeks, I think. Skin and bones. That poor woman. Now, the thing is, people were mad at the woman. I'm like, you can't be. Because they're so deceptive in what they tell you they're going to do. And they're not going to tell you, I'm going to pull out a baseball bat, by the way, on your dog. Because no one's going to go for that. And I felt bad for her, because she spent over $6,000, Jim. I think it was $6,000. So it's probably like two grand a dog. Huh, really? Wow. Anyway, it kind of, I tried to actually get the show finished for today, but it was an impossibility. It's just too much to just throw together, not to make sure that it covers a lot of topics as it relates to looking for a trainer. Anyway, I am going to arrange a meeting with Commissioner Michael Naft, who left me a message yesterday. I want to discuss, at least on a city level or a county level, what we can do about shock collars. What can we do about these unregulated dog training businesses? What can we do about, making sure people are qualified, that they've got some education in order to be able to handle animals? Anyway, I suspect there will be many shock collar and non-credentialed trainers not sleeping too well for the last few nights anyway, and that's okay, because how much how much longer are you going to go on pretending you're one thing when you have nothing to back it up? And here's the thing, animals ended up in some very dangerous hands. A good friend of ours, actually, she commented on my post with tagging her friend in and said, is this the place where your dog ended up in the hospital for 2 days? And it was. There's a lot of this. So they're asking people to come forward if you had an experience, not just with that facility, but any facility that your dog has come back fearful, a different dog altogether, skinny, injured. It's unacceptable, completely unacceptable. I do believe it's all about to crack wide open, Jim. You know, where all of a sudden, it's like me and a ton of other people have been talking about shock collars and these board and train facilities, and we go on and on and on. And people think you're just like, oh, you're ridiculous. Da, da, da. Finally, something's going to crack wide open. Think this is it. Because Darcy Spears from Channel 13, she did a little thing the other day and said, I started looking for proper credentialed trainers, and she only found 2 within 50-mile radius of where she is at the studio. And that's true. And it might
she'll
be,
stay on it too.
She will stay on it too. And there are a few more, but nothing to get too giddy about, which is unfortunate, really unfortunate. Anyway, I do feel there are a variety of ways that those kind of issues can be tackled. You know, from shock collars to, sometimes I say, well, that's a state law. You can't do this. We'll figure out another way to do it. For example, California, I think they started with the circuses. They're having a tough time getting circuses banned and the law passed. But they started working on banning the bull hook, the metal thing that they actually beat the elephants with to make them perform. And if you can't use that, guess what? You can't control an elephant.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a brilliant way to do it. So I am going
banning the implements.
Yeah. So I am going to meet with Michael Neft and see where we can get the ball rolling. He has done quite a bit in animal welfare and has been a part of the turnaround at the Nevada SPCA as well, as we talked about earlier. But I think it's really important. Here's another way I think I'm going to start to get the ball rolling is to contact Amazon. And do you know why, Jim?
Because Amazon ships those equipments.
Oh, did you know that the #1 selling collar on Amazon is a shock collar? I want to say 2 and 3 are all shock collars. One top selling.
Amazon needs to realize that is bad for their image.
How can they support something that hurts animals? How can you?
Because they will scrutinize you on your
Jim,
stuff that you sell.
Jim, they do. I'm telling you, you can get banned from being an affiliate or someone who sells on Amazon in a heartbeat. So I am going to reach out to them and say, how can you sell this with so much research? And look at these cases of dogs that have been injured. One just died recently because of what happened with a shock collar, or prong collars or choke collars. There's a lot to work on there, and I think a lot of it is approaching it with lots of science and anecdotal evidence is really important as well. Things that happen to real people. So I am going to. I was really upset to see that. I thought, wow, what's going on in the United States? That is the #1 selling collar. That's outrageous. So on that note, well, I'll tell you what, Jim. Let's take a quick break, because on that note, we're going to come right back and we're going to talk about reward-based training, not in detail, because that's going to be next week's show. It's not going to be in detail, just to give you some idea why it's something you want to adopt when you're training your dog or you're taking your dog to a trainer. All right, so let's take a quick break, and you're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host, the Queen of Rock and Roll Dogs.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Pet Scene Magazine is dedicated to Las Vegas pets and the people who love them. It's a source of news and information for pet lovers, as well as offering valuable coupons and specials on pet products and services. Find them online at www.lvpetscene.com or look for them on Facebook.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host, the Queen of Rock and Roll Dogs. So prior to the break, talking about shock collars, the trainer that, actually, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my research for this show, actually, the next show, the trainer show. This is what I'm dealing with, and I have been for a really long time. Any kind of research that I do, and I have to contact companies where I'm trying to get the truth out of them, it can be quite entertaining, to say the least. And I had a real song and dance this week. Oh, my Lord. It reminds me of when I did the pest control show, and I contacted over 20 pest control companies to find out what their formulas were, because I know that they haven't changed formulas in 50 years. I know that it causes cancer for pets and people and all kind of other issues. And it was that was a song and dance with a lot of those companies, wasn't it, Jim? Where they would completely ignore me, or they might answer the first question, or they would just avoid that question and give me information that I didn't even ask for, and then they would ghost me if I started pressing for more information. So I just want to share with you one that I had this week. This is my life. This is my life, people. So this is how it started. As you can see, sometimes I don't mind being a bit facetious. Anyway, I said, good morning. Would you mind providing me with some info? This is a board and train facility in town. I visited your site and it wasn't live. Do you use shock, prong, or choke collar in your training? And which accredited organization are your trainers certified with? Thank you very much. Anyway, they came back. Hello, this is our webpage. So it was a different webpage. So off I went, scanned through the whole website, and they said, we use all kind of dog training tools and the most modern training techniques. Visit our Facebook page. You'll see our work in the videos. We use a lot of positive reinforcement or clicker training. And I'd like to add, this is my personal thing, along with shock collars. So that doesn't make sense. So I did. I went over and I said, oh, hi, thanks. Thanks for getting back to me so quickly. I'm looking through your site and I can't see why your technique, tools, and credentials are listed. Would you mind providing me with that info or a link on your site if I've missed it? Thank you. And then I said, I'll hop on over to your Facebook page and take a look at the videos. Could you still provide me with the credentials of your trainers? Thanks. No, at that point I thought, I'm going to get ghosted. That's it. I'm pressing too hard. Anyway, this is how they replied. I don't think I have that info on my site.
Oh, why?
And they said, you can call, and I won't put the person's name in there, and they'll provide you with all the information you need, and she can book an appointment for you. Usually, we are not asked for our credentials unless it's a major agency like casinos, police departments, or other government agencies. In your first session, we will provide you all that information, including our licenses. Then I wrote back, is there a reason you only provide that info to the agencies and not to the public? I'd like the info prior to the session. And then I thought, he's never coming back, bless you. This person's never coming back. They did. I guess nobody has asked us for that before. The only one that I'm obligated to give you is the Private Investigators Licensing Board, and here's my license number. So I said, well, that's interesting. Can I get the info from PILB? And they said, sure, you can ask them. So off I went, because that's what I do. And I put in their business name and their license name, and I couldn't find them. And I said, in all honesty, I'm going to make a phone call, because sometimes those databases are not great. The search terms are usually not really good. So I couldn't find them. And then they said, sure, you can ask them. There are very few companies in the state of Nevada with a canine license. The PILB is the only agency that can allow canine training. But many companies, even though they're training personal protection dogs, do it without this license. I didn't ask for that. It's irrelevant to me, completely irrelevant. I said, great, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for responding so quickly. And that was kind of the end of what I was going to do, because that's all I need. Anyway, they came back. They said, you can also ask in the United States Mondioring Association and ask for me, this person's name, and the owner of this particular facility. And of course, you can check with the state business license for our business license. Again, irrelevant. A business license you did not have to provide credentials to get a business license, or to set up an LLC, or to be a private investigator. So I wasn't sure what this Mondioring was. So have you ever heard of it, Jim?
Doesn't it have something to do with security dog training?
That particular organization I went to look at was trials, basically, like a contest. So I'm like, okay, that's irrelevant. Never heard of it. Reached out to a great friend of mine who's an expert in this area, and she clued me in on it. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Again, it's irrelevant, and still it's not a credential for training your dog. So that was just a oh no it did come back. I kind of closed it off, but then there was another piece. I'm like, this is interesting. Considering I only want 2 pieces of information, I'm getting a ton of stuff. Like, you want a conversation with me now, but not about what I'm asking about anyway. So the final piece that came in was the majority of our clients are referrals. This is why we don't do much advertising, and our website isn't updated. Okay. We know that there is a disturbing video that was released yesterday, and they were referring to the video I just talked about, and they thought it was absolutely horrible, that abusing a dog. We do have a business with a similar name, so people are confusing us. And we've been getting a lot of bad reviews, but this is not why I called. I was not confused. I know you're a different company altogether. I was not confused in the slightest. Hope this information helps. Well, actually, I got no help whatsoever. And I said, yes, I've seen the video. It's horrific. Is the only way I can describe it. And that's how I closed that off. But this is how it's been. And I'm not kidding you. If you are credentialed, if you've got your first aid for animals, if you've got great reviews, honest reviews, you put all that up front and center because you're proud. You're proud that you went through your education. You're proud that you're doing continuing education. You slap it right on the front page, and the letters are after your name, that kind of thing. And it's just not the case. It's just not the case. And if you don't see that, it's one of those red flags. So this is what next week's show is all going to be based on. And I say I've been on it for 3 weeks now. The focus, of course, is to find credentialed, positive reinforcement trainers and what you're going to look for in the right trainer and the wrong trainer. I'm going to share with you those red flags when you interact with a trainer, just like that one. I'm going to point out verbiage on a trainer's website that should clue you into what they believe is the right way to train an animal. And I'm going to explain what aversive training is, what positive training is, balanced training. Now, that's a confusing one for a lot of people. And where you would go to check a trainer's credentials or where you would go to find a credentialed trainer. Also, we'll discuss those deceptive methods used to fool you into signing up with a trainer, just as I've experienced. Can you believe that, Jim? I kind of was I was entertained by it because I thought, wow, they're still coming back, and I still can't get this simple answer.
Sounded like they really didn't know how to get around. They were probably catching a lot of heat from a lot of directions because they were similar to the company that made the news.
But they are a board and train, and they use shock collars, so they are similar.
Well, they just beat around the bush and wouldn't answer you the question. They were still trying to gain your business. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I kept going back to a friend of mine on Messenger, and I said, I can't believe they've come back and they haven't ghosted me yet. This is amazing. And it was quite entertaining. But sometimes you have to be a little bit... Sometimes you've got to see the funny side of things because, it's such a depressing thing to deal with trainers who aren't qualified and are using these horrible aversive techniques and tools. It's not right, but it's not. It'll be the first of many. I've been doing tons of them. I've been in absolutely tons of them. But I thought it was funny how they implied that, I was probably confused with the other guy that abused with the baseball bat. And I'm like, not confused. I've seen your videos. You got your shock collars on, reading the body language of those dogs. It makes me really sad. Really sad. It also makes me really angry to see any animal put in that position. It's not right. It's just not right. Anyway, I believe it is time to take charge, Jim, and not to be afraid to ask questions, request proof of these credentials, and for you to be the best guardian you can be for your dog. I want everyone to feel like they're empowered to make the best, most informed decision when it comes to training your dog.
But the other part of it is, I think, is people need to not be lazy. You need to not go, oh, yeah, we'll just pay somebody and we don't have to be part of it. I mean, what kind of irresponsible pet ownership is that? Well, that's
part of the education that
you
all
have
of us
to be part of it.
And the thing is, that's what we're doing. That's what we do on this show. That's what all these positive reinforcement trainers are constantly doing. I love it when they say, I'm in this group, and I'll tell you about it shortly. I'm in this group, and they show a picture of a shock collar or a prong collar, and they go, I've managed to convert someone today. They've handed it over. I'm working with them on positive reinforcement. There's a lot of people working on this. Some people just don't know what they don't know. I mean,
and
it's
you
true.
should buy one of those things, put it on your neck, and put it on the highest settings.
There'll be still people
try
that
it out
there'll still be
yourself.
people that'll still stick it on the dog because that's how some people are, Jim. Unfortunately, so with that said, we want you to be the most informed you possibly can be and feel empowered. Like when you call, you know what you're talking about. And as part of the show, I will create a dog trainer checklist that you can download, and you can use that to find your trainer. Use it as a checklist. Oh, they don't meet this criteria. Sorry, can't work with this person. But let's not overlook the fact that you can train your own dog. You can train your own dog. And you can get started today by joining the Do No Harm Dog Training Group by Linda Michaels. Now, Linda Michaels is, I swear, to me, is a god in dog training. I swear. Her knowledge is unbelievable. She has a degree in psychology, and she's got this amazing training manual. And I looked at her for so much information, and she's got a solution for just about any scenario. Sometimes people post the most weird scenario with a dog, and sure enough, she'll have a way of training and helping you out. It's a brilliant group. So, like I said, there's nothing to stop you from training your dog in a positive reinforcement manner. And I would honestly suggest you go ahead and join the Do No Harm Dog Training Group and pick up a copy of her book. It's of the same name, exact same name. It's a brilliant group of people who are so helpful, so supportive. You ask a question, oh my gosh, people want to help you. And you'll learn so much. You'll gain some friends. And think of it this way. If you decide you want to train your own dog and you grab Linda's manual or you're in the group, you're both going to be learning together. And how fun is that? I mean, that's really a fun thing to do with your dog. So there's nothing to say that you have to take your dog to somebody else. And remember, if you do go to the training, you have to be part of the training. And never board and train. Now, here's a few things just to highlight about reward-based positive reinforcement training. And it's just some of the bonuses that you'll get from that. For example, it's better for the animal's welfare. It doesn't involve scaring a dog, shocking, choking, depriving, forcing a dog, or intimidating a dog, or lifting up a baseball bat like this guy did. You're going to see results. It is fun for your dog. It provides enrichment. You've got time together, really quality time together. Your dog's going to learn a behavior in exchange for a reward and praise. And if you think about that on a human level, when you master something or you do a great job or you're rewarded for it, pat on the back, it makes you really happy and it actually makes you want to do more. And lots of people have reported how quickly their dogs learn new things because of the fact that they started reward-based training. Because, dogs are smart. They pick up on, oh, I see how this goes. This is fun. And it makes me really happy. And I get lots of praise. And this bond just starts to strengthen as you go along. And your dog wants to do more. And so I think that there are so many wonderful, positive things. It can save lives. I've got friends who have an enrichment training charity. And if they did not go into the shelter and work with these dogs, they'd never get home. They would live there forever, or they would end up dead. And so, or they could get adopted out, and there could be issues. But the enrichment and the training is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You're absolutely going to strengthen your bond with your dog without a dog. And what you're doing is you're teaching your dog what to do. And if you want a certain behavior, for example, you don't want your dog to jump up on you, then you have to show your dog what that is and reward it when your dog does that. Because think about this. If all you ever do is push a dog away and say, no, get down, no. How does your dog know there's any alternative behavior that it can get rewarded for if you don't show your dog? So you actually can teach your dog what to do. And I will say it teaches you patience. And, you need to exercise a lot of that too. Without patience, this is why people fall into that trap of using aversive methods like shock collars or dumping the dog with someone else. You fix it. They do want a quick fix. I mean, let's not lie about that. And that often becomes a bigger problem due to the fact that it doesn't teach a new or a modified behavior. It suppresses a behavior. And, shock collars and prong collars have been known for behaviors to worsen. So don't make that mistake of behavior, mistaking behavior suppression for behavior modification. And that's why we need to do this show, to help you wade your way through the trainers that are out there. And be particular who your dog gets to have a relationship with. That's really, but just like your own circle of friends, be very selective as to who you allow to be a friend and who do you allow in your dog's inner circle, as we like to say. But there's obviously a million more benefits to that type of training. And we want you to be able to be in your dog and you to be in the right hands, because it's not just about your dog. You're coming as a team. We're looking for a trainer. We're looking for a trainer, not my dog. I need a trainer for my dog. You need to start saying, we're looking for a trainer as you reference yourself and your dog. What me and my dog need is, that's what you need to do. So there you go. It's going to be a big show next week. It's going to be a show that I just hope you get so many takeaways from, that we can help you and you don't end up in the hands of animal abusers. And there are many cases right now. And that one video from that one company, they just had 2 other people up for abuse who are part of the franchise. Now, they say the guy doesn't have a license now and he's lost his franchise, but who's to say? It's
not just about the guy. The guy's the fault guy for the whole company because he did horrible things, but the company in general nationwide has a problem.
Well, this is the whole premise is shockcollar. And the thing is, you know what they started doing? Someone in the group, the Do No Harm group, posted an image of all of the franchises that were changing their names on Facebook, changing the name of the pages to run away from their dirty deeds. That's how I've always described it, from their dirty deeds.
So they're scattering like cockroaches.
Well, they're scattering and changing names and operating under different names. That's what they're doing. It's outrageous. It's just outrageous. And we've seen it done here before, haven't we, Jim, where people have had their franchise ripped away from them, but they've still popped up elsewhere. So we really need this to be a big warning to people, but we also want to be helpful to people. It's all well and good saying this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, but if we don't give you the tools to actually find the right trainer, then we're not doing a service to anyone. So look for that next week. Big show. Big show. And of course, there's always people that will defend the shock collar, and the prong, and even the halty. The halty's not a good thing either. Here's the thing. There's always that one person, there's quite a few of them. They say, there's a right and a wrong way to use it. And you know how I reply? There isn't a right or a wrong way to harm an animal. You're harming an animal, no matter how you use that thing. And I think that's something to bear in mind. But, some people are brainwashed as well. And they just repeat. It's like, they just repeat warmed up gossip, basically. Warmed up myths of they don't hurt. And you know what? It's kind of irrelevant that if you feel it doesn't hurt your dog. What's relevant is that it hurts your dog, and through the research they've shown this. It's irrelevant what you think. Like, it doesn't hurt. No, the research shows you it does hurt your dogs psychologically, physically. Oh, why would you do that? And I guess the next big topic will be why, if we're outraged about that, why are we not outraged about service dog training, metro dog training, police dog training that uses these kind of things as well? Why are we not outraged about that? You think, but that's a police dog. Okay. So there's a lot of people operating in really old, antiquated, dangerous ways. So I think I've rambled on enough about that. But I am excited for this show. As I say, I was already working on it, and I really would have liked to have had it done for today, especially on the heels of this story. But next week will be the week, and we'll have that that downloadable. They call it a downloadable, Jim, a downloadable printable. In case you didn't know. Well,
I didn't know.
Now you know. Right, so I guess that's it. Remember, my friends, you can help an animal in need. Either rescue, adopt, donate, volunteer, share their information, train them with positive reinforcement, rescue your next family member, replace the word shop with adopt, and, of course, be kind to all animals. Thank you, Jim, for doing what you do in the studio. Hello? Oh my gosh, you're just asleep.
I'm getting ready to close out the show. I'm doing technical things.
I think you just fell asleep.
Remember, my main job is the technical job here.
Yes, and you have to.
No.
I have to do those eye. You do the eye things with your fingers. You point to your eyes and then you point to their eyes.
You don't have to do any of that.
I have to do that to Jim sometimes across the studio.
You don't have to do any of that.
Anyway, thank you, Mr. Jim. I think I sound good on the mic today. I'm very happy about that.
That's great.
Please take a moment, by the way, like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and don't forget to post pics of your pets because, of course, we love to see your fur babies. And, of course, subscribe to the show. All the things we've talked about today will be in the show notes once we throw it up as a podcast. And want to thank you, the listeners, because you are the biggest part of the show every single week. Today you've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio, where it's all about pets, people, and pop culture. I'm your host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. And always kiss your pets good morning and good night. And I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture. You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Visit Vegas Rock Dog Radio for more information. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And subscribe on iTunes and iHeartRadio. And remember, give your fur babies a big kiss from me, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. You must not rely on the information in this broadcast from our host as an alternative to medical advice from your veterinarian. If you have any specific questions about a medical matter regarding your pets, you should consult your veterinarian or specialist.